What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. Welcome to episode 309 of Shadows and Pretties, and today we are going to be looking at this third Resident Evil game called Resident Evil Nemesis. This game came out in 1999, and this one is about pretty much takes place almost pretty much concurrently with the events of Resident Evil 2. However, in this one, Jill Valentine is the main protagonist of this game, which of course she escapes from Raccoon City that has been affected by the virus. So of course, this game does have a remake that came out in 2020, which was about 4 years ago. Although I have not seen that, I have not played that game yet, so I'm not going to talk about the remake until I've played the game. So, of course, Resident Evil 3 was developed concurrently with Resident Evil Code Veronica that was conceived as a spin-off, which honestly was something I was not expecting. So, of course, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a survival horror game where the player controls Jill Valentine from a third-person perspective, just kind of like how the first Resident Evil game is. So, I'm going to talk about the plot of the game for any of you guys who have not played the game in years or have not heard of it. So, let me go on with the plot of this game, just for anybody who wants a refresher. Obviously, this takes place on September 28th of 1998. 24 hours prior to the events of Resident Evil 2. So this is kind of almost like the prequel to Resident Evil 2, if that makes sense. Former STARS member Jill Valentine attempts to escape from Raccoon City. Most of the population had been transformed into zombies by an outbreak caused by the T-virus. The gruesome biological weapon secretly developed by the pharmaceutical company Umbrella Corporation. After fighting through zombies and mutants on her way to Raccoon City Police Department, of course, Jill runs into a fellow team member, Brad Vickers, who later gets killed by a new enemy. The creature is called the Nemesis T-type, is the bioorganic weapon programmed to target remaining STARS members who had the knowledge of Umbrella's experiments. After she invades Nemesis, Jill encounters 3 surviving members of Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, Carlos and Michaela, Victor, and Nikolai. Nikolai explains to Jill that a rescue helicopter can be contacted if they reach the city's main clock tower by ringing the bell. So they are finished repairing the cable car when Nikolai goes missing and is presumed dead. Nemesis then corners the remaining members of the group onto a car that they head to the tower. Makala sacrificed himself with a grenade, using the car to crash into the tower's central courtyard, and of course separating Jill and Carlos briefly. So at the clock tower, Jill summons a helicopter by ringing the clock bell's tower before being confronted by Nemesis, which destroys the helicopter and infects Jill with the T-virus. Jill manages to temporarily defeat Nemesis, but she falls unconscious due to the T-virus infection given by the Nemesis. Carlos finds Jill and takes her to safety within the clock tower. 3 days later, he finds a vaccine for Jill's T-virus infection in a nearby Umbrella-owned hospital. And then he returns to demonstrators to Jill, saving her life. So after she regains consciousness, Jill proceeds towards the Raccoon Park to search for an escape route and enters the park caretaker cabin. There she runs into Nikolai, who reveals that he has a supervisor sent to Raccoon City to gather combat data on Umbrella's bioweapons. Nikolai then retreats, and Jill is later confronted by the Gravedigger, which is a massive worm-like creature. After Jill manages to defeat the monster and escapes to an abandoned Umbrella factory at the edge of town throughout the worm's tunnels. Inside the factory, Jill meets up with Carlos, who later tells her that the U.S. government is planning to launch a nuclear missile into Raccoon City to eradicate the T-virus infestation. So after confronting the Nemesis and grabbing the key card needed to escape, Jill then learns from the factory's controls tower that the missile attack on Raccoon City has begun, with only a short amount of time left before the city is destroyed. Now, depending on the path taken by the player, yes, there is different paths that the player can take, Jill's final encounter with Nikolai will differ. In one version of the events, Nikolai will attempt to start a gunfight with Jill, can only be taken by surprise by a nemesis and killed. Another event, Nikolai will hijack Jill's intended escape chopper, and the player must either reason with Nikolai or destroy the chopper. If Jill negotiates with Nikolai, he will reveal that he has killed other supervisors and boasts about it, collecting bounty and placed on Jill by Umbrella before escaping. Regardless of Nikolai's fate, Jill will manage to rear her way to the yard and confronts Nemesis one last time. After the intense battle, Jill defeats Nemesis with the help of the large prototype railgun before meeting up with Carlos and escaping the city via helicopter. If the previous escape from the chopper was stolen by Nikolai, Jill and Carlos will instead meet up with STAR's Alpha Team's weapons and specialist Barry Burton from the first Resident Evil game, who helps him escape with the chopper. The nuclear whistle vaporizes Raccoon City, and Jill swears revenge on Umbrella. A newscast briefly details the destruction, and after condolences for the lost lives, that's the end of the game. Well, the plotline. Honestly, this was featured in a Tokyo Game Show that was held in March of 1999. A playable version of available at the Electronic Entertainment Expo in 1999 at the time. The dodging feature had not yet been completed, but it was absent from the demo. So, I personally really thought this game had a pretty good plot and stuff like that. Now, the remake of Resident Evil 3 that came out in 2020, the game is pretty much the same, except it's just a little different. Like, the graphics are different, and, the gameplay is very different and very much updated compared to the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So, there's definitely that. But, anyways, with that being said, I personally thought it was a really good game. I mean, don't think I've played it in a long time, but it was actually quite of a fun game if I remember playing it, but that must have been like years ago. Honestly, I thought Nemesis was actually a pretty good villain, and I thought he was pretty well made for a good villain. I do personally really like the game itself. The plot of it was pretty neat, and it's awesome that it kind of reminds me a bit of Resident Evil 2, except a little different. And we don't see Chris Redfield, we see Jill being, the star of the show here, which is pretty neat. So, with that being said, I personally thought it was a pretty good sequel to Resident Evil 2, although it says it almost takes place after Resident Evil Resident Evil 2, but I think it may be a prequel to it. I don't really know what to say, but maybe if anybody who's a Resident Evil fan can maybe help me out, maybe figure it out, if those who know the ending or something, maybe let me know what it is. But I personally really enjoy this story. I personally like the movie. I personally like the game. I thought it was well made in detail. I like the concept. Everything about it was just flat out amazing. And you gotta really admit, this game was actually a pretty fun one from what I can remember. Although I haven't remember playing this game, it's been years. I'm gonna have to replay this game whenever I get the opportunity, because it's such a great game. So, I guess with that being said and that being the case, like I'm gonna say right now, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these games. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. But I want to say, I have not played the remake of this game yet that came out in 2020. I still need to try and check that out. So if I get the time to check it out, maybe I'll review it then. But as of now, I'm not going to review the remake of the game until further notice. So, I guess with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this game? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this game a lot better. Feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If I am missing something for whatever reason, please let me know what it is in the comments below. So as always, I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. If you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. If you guys want to go follow me on DeviantArt, link to my DeviantArt will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you want to go check out my Twitter page, link to my Twitter will be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out. Also, if you're interested in subscribing to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, link to that will also be in the About page section, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, if I'm missing something, let me know what it is. And like always, I'll see you all next time in the next video.